Well, anyway, since we only have one microphone, we're sort of going to pass this back and forth. But I'm Casey Quinlan, for those of you who weren't here yesterday. I, yes, do make myself memorable in a variety of ways, but I also had a cancer journey myself. Mine was pretty low stress compared to others that I know, including two people to my left, my right, your left. Dude, I am not doing well today. But I'm going to blame chemo brain. I'm going to blame chemo brain. I blame everything on that. But I also wrote a book about managing medical care based on my cancer experience called Cancer for Christmas, because that's when I got my diagnosis. So when you get a title like that, you have to use it. So next up, we have Erika Brown, and she will tell you all about herself.
I will do that. Hi, everybody. I'm old, so I have a lot of stories.
Oh,
so
I'm
watch out.
old too, so yeah.
Well, my cancer story it started on Women's Equality Day of 2002 when I was told that I had metastatic colon cancer. I today refer to it as colorectal cancer because I don't want the rectal people to be marginalized. And since that time, I have become very active in the world of creating a community for the patients, survivors, and caregivers that are affected by colorectal cancers. And that is called Colontown. Yay, Colontown. I even have a newspaper here that anybody wants to see with a map of Colontown inside. Colontown is made up of 40 secret groups on Facebook. There are 2,500 to 3,000 people that are affected, that are talking 24/7 in each of these different groups. The map represents the totality of all of the different groups, all of which are condition specific. So the very focused, very targeted conversations that are going on, all dealing with the experience that one has or can have when having colorectal cancer. I was diagnosed and treated in 2002, 2003, and I am one of the very, very lucky ones who's been what we call dancing with Ned ever since. Don't have any idea why, don't know whether it was the treatment, my good condition, the fact that I don't drink, the fact that I had chosen to live rather than not making that choice, who knows, but today I am privileged and honored to be able to work in this world and to help people live. That's my story.
Now we have Ben Merrion.
Hi everybody, I'm Ben. So I met Regina at an unplanned conference called an Unconference or bar camp that some of my friends were organizing. And back then I am in the field of adult literacy, so I'm very interested in health literacy. And if you see my jacket, that's what it's about. But in 2013, I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic melanoma. And, I got through it by having a sense of humor, so I want to be injecting humor into my answers just to prepare you. So I got through it through 2 different treatments. And the first one was like pills that targeted the specific mutation in the cancer gene that I had. And then the second one was immunotherapy. So I didn't have to go through chemo, but I still had to go through a variety of side effects from each treatment. So, and I'm in remission now.
Friend of Ned, dancing with Ned. Oh, by the way, Ned is no evidence of disease. So all 3 of us are friends of Ned. Because that in remission thing always feels so formal, right? We're friends of Ned, just like the recovery movement folks are friends of Bill. And friend of Bill W. He was a cool guy. He's got a lot of friends.
Yes, he does.
Billions of friends. All right, so I have a series of questions I'm going to ask these guys, and they're going to give us their answers. So, both of you, I'd like to hear from you on what is the thing that is most missing in action for people at the time of a cancer diagnosis. We've all, I was diagnosed in 2007, Ben was diagnosed in 2013, and Erika was diagnosed in 2002. And I couldn't remember, it was 1 or 2, see? Chemo brain. But, so we've sort of had a spectrum, a time spectrum. So it's not all within the last couple of years, and it's not all, like 30 years ago. So, in your experience, what's the thing that's most MIA for people at the time of diagnosis?
For me, dealing with the stigma of colorectal and anal disease, and no one ever talking about it, it was people, it was survivors. I had no one in my life. By background, I'm a corporate headhunter. That means I'm a professional networker. I have a huge network of people. Not one person copped to knowing anything about colorectal cancer when I was ill. They all knew I was sick because I was misdiagnosed for almost 2 years. So they were watching me start with taking on the look of the color of your sweater, Cindy, and kind of, I could see the look on their faces. But so no one during that whole time, with the exception of one person who was herself a survivor, who'd heard through, and she was an outlier in my network, but she'd heard that what I was dealing with, and she called me up, she chose to call me up to tell me, to give me her words of advice. And I was so grateful to just hear from anybody that had made it through this. That's all I wanted, and that was totally missing. That's my statement.
So, I don't think anybody really knows what to say to someone when they're diagnosed with cancer. I think it's really hard. Even now, when some of my friends have come down with cancer, I have to think about it. But maybe there's some things that you might not want to say or think about saying to someone. So here are some things that people said to me when I was diagnosed with cancer. My dentist: Ben, you're too young to have cancer. I got excited. I was like, really? That's cool. Could you tell my cancer that, please? Because I'm at stage 4 right now. I don't think it's really realized that yet. You're on a journey now, Ben. Let me walk this journey with you. I think your definition of journey needs a little work. You look great. Now, normally, I'm vain, so I love that, right? But could you tone down the surprise just a little bit? Be nice. It's not like it's not like I came out of Walking Dead or something. Always think positively. Always. Be strong and fight it.
Yeah.
You do know what cancer is, right? I have the strength of a 3-year-old. You're in the jungle, baby. You're gonna die. I'm just kidding. That was Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses. Ben, you really need to stop complaining. You're just going to have to get used to a new normal.
And this is the response.
You guys practice.
A little bit, like moments earlier over coffee. So you have the microphone. So are you done?
Can I say
Go for it. No, go for it.
I have to
Go
tell
ahead.
you all that everything that he says is right. People say the stupidest goddamn things you can ever imagine to you when you're sick, especially with cancer. We don't know why, and we don't know what to say, right, when that happens. Except we want to do that, and we do. We laugh in our communities, we laugh about this the same way I was laughing. There's a lot more stuff that people say. You just captured the top level. It's a whole new world. It's a world that you don't want to join, but chances are that you're going to be affected in some direct way, every single one of you in this room, by this disease and other diseases. And there's nothing that comes out of this. One thing I want you all to know is that we are all patients. Don't ever call us they, ever again. Thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely we. It's we and us. It ain't they and them. So, and I'll just echo everything they just said, because I heard some really hilarious stuff. And my personal reaction now after going through an experience, because you'd like to think the things you go through teach you so that you can then teach others, is just to look, to look at the person and just look at them and be there with them. If you feel like you have to say something that could range anything from, oh my God, I'm so sorry, or hey, I'm here for you if you need me. Anytime, call me, or let's go get lunch, or if you need some help with something, set up a schedule, offer to do lots of helping hands if the person's definitely going to need some help. Just like be there. And if you can't be there, don't promise to be there and then not show up, because that really sucks. Okay. Oh yeah, go for it.
So when Peggy called me about my situation, she said, I just have one word of advice for you if you want it. And I said, sure, shoot. And she said, just say yes. That's simple. She said, people are going to call and say, what can I do? Can I bring you dinner? Can I clean your house? Can I do your work? Can I bring you money? Just say yes to everything. Let them figure it out, what they're going to do. Don't get caught in that. I mean, my first inclination, I don't think I'm different from other people, was, oh no, I'm fine. I can handle all of this. And this is why she was breaking through with the, just say yes. Just learn to say yes.
Yeah, you kind of start feeling like the Black Knight in, Monty Python and the Holy Grail with no legs and no arms. Come back, I'll still fight you. It's only a flesh wound. No, admit that you're down and you need some help, because you do. All right, so now during treatment, you've been diagnosed, now you're getting treated. Let's say, you're going through some phase of treatment. It could be targeted immunotherapy, it could be chemo, it could be radiation. Personal story, radiation was the worst. Oh my Lord. So during active treatment, what was the most missing piece? In other words, what did someone not prepare you for? What were side effects that even your treatment team didn't have any clue were going to happen? What were you in the dark about that really screwed you up during treatment?
I really was pretty well prepared, I think, but what I wasn't prepared for was the first chemo treatment. I was totally prepared for the axe to fall, and with colorectal cancer, you generally have 6 months of chemo. It's changing now with the introduction of immunotherapies, and people are really doing well, and they seem to have no side effects, which is amazing. But after my first treatment, I didn't feel very much, and even though they had said it's going to be cumulative, I thought the axe was going to fall, and I was the thing they didn't tell me about was steroids. They used steroids to ameliorate the nausea and all that stuff, and what happened for me was I stayed up all night that first night. I was as high as a kite, and I was not told anything about that, and I acted very stupidly the next day, but I got smart about that. They didn't tell me. That's my answer.
Yeah, so I think I was pretty prepared too, but what I could have learned a little bit more about or known a little bit more about is what to actually look for when the side effects happen. So one of the main side effects that I had was diarrhea. And one of the things that my nurse always asked me, what does it look like? And the first time it happened, I was like, I don't know, it's diarrhea, it's gross. I'm trying hard not to look at it. And so, and I was amazed about how many ways there were to describe it. And I was like, look, I really don't know. I did the courtesy flush on it. For those of you who don't know what courtesy flush is, it simply says, as soon as your poop comes out, you flush. That's what I do. When you're over at someone's house and you have diarrhea, the courtesy flush becomes even more imperative. But sometimes you're maniacally flushing, and so you're making all this noise, and people are like, hey, what are you doing in there? And you're like, I'm practically saving you from getting into a sewer in here. Show some appreciation. This is the last time I'm getting sick over here.
I had diarrhea too.
Oh. also, chemo gives you diarrhea. Well, just say that, and now you all know. But yeah, the thing for me during active treatment, the thing that I was unprepared for was, I also was like waiting for the hammer to drop on my head after my first chemo treatment. I had given I cleared the decks for the 3 weeks from infusion to the, between infusions, figuring that I was going to be sick as a dog and everything was going to go sideways. And I did not have a party, but I didn't notice any real effects other than, like sort of, icks and, diarrhea, etc. But it wasn't that bad. I was expecting much worse. So of course, after my second infusion, now I mentioned that I'm a writer. And after my second infusion, I had a project that wasn't due like right away, thank God, but it was due the week after my infusion. So I went for my second infusion, and the next day, I sat down at my computer to do something that I have done for decades. Write a press release, a media advisory. I sat down, I couldn't figure out what to do. I mean, I knew I was sitting at my computer, and I knew how the keyboard worked, and I knew it was a computer, and I knew, all that I knew. But how to write a press release, I could not put a sentence together. And watching Jodi Shagar, who we lost just the other day, a video of her talking about survivorship, she had the exact same experience. She was also a writer. She had the exact same experience I did. I didn't know that at the time. I mean, we bonded over that after we had both gone through treatment. And, but that's scary when you realize the cognitive effects of chemo brain. And then also I had a horrible radiation experience, but that's just radiation. It's not like it was just me. But yeah, when they say radiation, that means yes, they are going to burn the shit out of you. And just be aware. What, the radiation during the... No, it's a cumulative effect. You don't feel anything during the time that you're lying on the table. Per se. Well, I mean, I didn't for mine. I think that... Oh, you didn't? Okay, because I know people that have gone through head and neck cancer, and just the process of having to have... There's this mask that they build to hold you in place. Essentially, they lock you in with this mask that's made from a mold of your face to keep you from moving during the radiation. And that alone, if you're a little freaked out by closed spaces, would be totally freakish. And but then there's the part where you can, I mean, depending. You don't get radiated for that long. I mean, it doesn't go on for like, 20 minutes. It's every day, 5 days a week for some number of weeks. Mine was almost 8. And you go in and you're literally in the office for maybe all of 10 minutes, including check-in and check-out. But I would say it might have been, there were a couple of beams that they used on me, and I think that the whole thing for me was like maybe 90 seconds, might have been 120 full time, like how much, but it was a cumulative effect of getting the crap burned out of me. I mean, I could not wear clothes, other than, something like essentially like a poncho or something. I could not wear clothes for about 4 weeks. And the radiation, because I was burned to death. I mean, it's
hard for the clothes to touch you.
I couldn't have anything touch me. And then, there were 2 other things that happened was I didn't realize until I was going through it the cumulative exhaustion that is radiation. I mean, the first 2 weeks were bad, but then the remaining 5.5 weeks, I literally felt like I was climbing out of a hole every day, and I wasn't getting anywhere. It was like I was exhausted. And it took about 4 weeks for that to pass off. And then I lost all the lymph nodes in my arm because of a dirty node. That's a long story, I'm not going to tell here. But I have lymphedema in my left arm, which usually is under control, but the radiation kicked off a full-on lymphedema episode, which scared the out of me and wasn't fun, but there you go. So now, when it comes to defining survivorship, and that's, sort of that dancing with death, when it comes to survivorship, what's your definition, and did your clinical team help you figure that out at all, or was that something you had to do on your own? No, he wants you to go first.
Well, no. I mean, the big complaint from all patients is when you're finished with treatment, the first line, if that's what's going to be, that was my experience, was first line. I was dropped. They'd been paying all this attention to me on a weekly basis, and all of a sudden they didn't know who I was because they were on to new people. And that was the scenario. Good luck. We'll see you in 3 months. I mean, it was this was almost 14 years ago for me. It has changed since then because there's this awareness that has grown that this is a problem time. I dealt with how I was going to survive basically by myself because I really didn't have anybody to talk to about it. I had my breast cancer friend, Tia, who I confessed to that I was really concerned that I had a pain in my back, and it was probably now in my kidney, and I, you know what, in colorectal cancer they're talking minimum 5 years, the first 3 years being critical, and the most critical the first year. So they surveil you very consistently every quarter, maybe twice a year with different scans and look-sees, and the overall look is for 5 years. At 3 years, you're pretty much, you've overcome something, and at 5, you really overcome something, and you can do away with oncology surveillance at that point. Survivorship for me became, first of all, recovery from this awful treatment that I'd had that actually, they don't use it anymore. It killed a lot of people, and the doc that designed my treatment doesn't want his name on it anymore because that's how tough it was. It was awful, and to your point about being not able to write, I had this little fantasy that, well, now I was going to be able to take the next 6 months and read all the books that I'd never been able to read and all was that, you know, in line. You can't read. You can't focus. That's the problem with chemotherapy. And I had dust growing on my computer. I totally isolated in my basement. I was personally dealing with having to get divorced and having to go through medical bankruptcy and having to move and having to figure out how I was going to make a living and whether or not I was going to live. And it was pretty major stuff that I had to do. And it was somewhere at that time, I think, that I met Big Brian. I was struggling out of that time in Denver. So am I taking too long? Okay. Survivorship to me is, what happened to me is choosing to live. And I know that sounds trite, really, really terribly trite. Of course we all want to live, right? But I had, by virtue of the fact that I had quit smoking years before, the fact that I chose and have chosen a life of exercise and paying attention and trying to achieve conscious living, had already declared myself, to me, a survivor. And so when the cancer thing came down, it was more of the same for me. And I swear to you, one of the first things someone ought to do when they're diagnosed with any major illness is to say, do I really choose to live? And really have a serious discussion with self. I watch a lot of people who, you know, I know that they think that they have done that, but they really haven't. So survivorship to me is that first, and then it's getting educated in this new life, and it is by hook or crook getting involved.
Not the new normal.
Well, there's no going back.
Yeah.
So it's accepting all of that and embracing it, embracing life, supporting others. Supporting others helps me, just like music does, and going forward. Thanks.
Yeah, survivorship kind of sucks.
Nice.
Especially when people find out about it. Like when people found out that I was in remission, it was kind of a bummer. because I couldn't use cancer as an excuse to get out of stuff anymore. And I thought about it, and so now when people say, well, aren't you in remission? I'm like, well, think of it this way. You know how, like, when you're Catholic, you're kind of always Catholic, even if you leave the church? Well, sort of like that, except every 3 months, you're forced to go back to church, hold a bake sale, sing in the choir, go to confession, and then every year, you have to give a big contribution. Because the deductibles suck.
That's the cool thing about having an autoimmune disorder is that like, they don't say you're in remission. Like there are times when you're not having a relapse, but they don't call it in remission. They just say you're not having a relapse. Like you're not in the hospital where you are.
Yeah.
But I had the same, like when I first got diagnosed, I had a friend who was diagnosed with like, it was cool because she lived down the street from my parents. And I went to my parents' house a lot just to like grocery shop, you know, because I didn't want to buy my food. And I would go to her house a lot too, and like, and I was like, trying to be really cool, and I was like, I swear, for the things I can do, I will never use MS as an excuse to get out of something. And she was like, don't be a hero. I use MS as an excuse all the time. Don't want to be something about the MS. Don't want to go anywhere. Oh, it's too hot. I don't want to like go shopping. Oh, it's the MS again. Oh, don't want to whatever. Like, oh, I can't fill my tank with gas. Those fumes just make me whatever. Like, you know, she's like, I make my husband do everything.
Play the card. If you got the card, use the card.
Exactly.
Play the card.
I'm playing this card until someone finds a cure, and then I'm like leaving the country. I'm just not gonna, it's just like, that's the thing, like unless you're in the hospital, you're in remission, but no one ever says that, And anyone who's like remotely unrelated to having an autoimmune disorder, like, you're like, oh, you don't know what it's like, you know what I mean? Like, so.
I have a cancer card.
Yeah, exactly.
It says, the bearer of this card has the right to do pretty much whatever they darn well please.
Exactly.
Including, but not limited to, shunning people who repeatedly ask, how are you feeling today?
Exactly.
Whenever someone would say, wow, but you look so good, I'd be like, well, MS has been good to me then, because no one ever said it before, ever in my life. Like this illness has really treated me well. Better than I did.
We only have 1 minute, so we'll take one question if there is one. Otherwise, we'll have closing remarks. Okay. I am glad to be here.
I am so happy to be alive and to be able to work in this world and to be here today with all of you. And I want to wish you the best of continuing great health.
Yeah, thanks for letting me be here. Thanks for laughing. And just, whatever you're dealing with, just try to find the humor in it.
Follow Ben on Facebook. He's hilarious.
And we have Elijah's chair here. As our dear friend Meredith pointed out a few minutes ago, Elijah's chair is there because you do not do a council panel without leaving the chair empty.
Right, that's Jody's chair. That's Jody's chair.
Thank you so much, everyone.